My sister demanded I give up my dream job so she could have it. When I refused, she grabbed the microphone at my award ceremony and screamed, "You stole this from me." My parents nodded and said, "You owe her for being the favorite." I smiled, pulled out a secret contract, and said, "Then let's see who this job was really meant for." I'm 34, living in Chicago, and I've just landed my dream job as the head curator at the Lincoln Museum. History has always been my passion, and after years of dedication, this position feels like the culmination of my efforts. My younger sister, Rachel, 31, has always been the center of attention in our family. Growing up, she was the cheerleader, the prom queen, and the one our parents doted on. I was the quiet one, buried in books and historical archives. When I shared the news of my new role, Rachel's reaction was less than enthusiastic. "You know, I was thinking of applying for that job," she said over coffee. With my background in communications, I could have brought a fresh perspective. I was taken aback. "Rachel, you've never shown any interest in history." "Well, maybe I would have if Mom and Dad had encouraged me like they did you." A few months into my new role, I was honored with the Illinois Historical Society's Curator of the Year Award. The ceremony was held at the Grand Ballroom of the Chicago Cultural Center. I invited my family, hoping to share this milestone with them. As I stood on stage, accepting the award, Rachel suddenly stormed up, grabbed the microphone, and shouted, "You stole this from me." This was supposed to be my moment. The room fell silent. I was mortified. Our parents, seated in the front row, nodded in agreement. "You owe her for being the favorite," my mother said. I took a deep breath, reached into my purse, and pulled out a document. "Actually," I began, "I have here a signed contract from the museum's board, offering me the position months before you even expressed interest." I held it up for everyone to see. This job was meant for someone with a passion for history, years of experience, and a proven track record. That someone is me. The room erupted in whispers. Rachel stood frozen, her face turning crimson. Our parents looked away, suddenly interested in the floor tiles. After the ceremony, I approached them. "I've always tried to make you proud," I said. "But I won't apologize for my success." I walked away, leaving them to reflect on their actions. Since that day, I've continued to thrive in my role, curating exhibits that draw visitors from all over the country. Rachel eventually found her niche in event planning, and our relationship remains strained but civil. As for our parents, they've started to recognize the importance of treating their children equally. Family dynamics can be complex, but standing up for oneself is crucial. I'm proud of my achievements and the path I've carved for myself. After the ceremony, I didn't hear from my parents or Rachel for a few days. Honestly, I thought they needed space to process what had happened, and I needed space too. But instead of an apology, I got something else. Rachel posted a long, dramatic rant on Facebook. She called me a thief. She said I manipulated my way to the top and that I used connections to get the job. She even hinted I had an affair with a board member. It was all lies. She tagged our family, our childhood friends, even some of my coworkers. The post exploded with comments, mostly from her friends cheering her on. A few people messaged me privately to ask what was going on. I ignored most of it, but one message hit differently. It was from Mark, my direct supervisor at the museum. He asked me to meet him the next morning before our weekly briefing. That night, I barely slept. I kept thinking, did Rachel's post damage my reputation? Was I about to lose everything? The next morning, I showed up early, sat down across from Mark, and braced for the worst. He closed the door and slid his phone across the desk. "Did you see this?" he asked. I nodded. "She's your sister?" I nodded again. He sighed. "Look, I know this is messy. I also know gossip spreads fast in our circles. But I trust you. We did our homework before offering you the position. Your record is spotless." Relief flooded through me, but then he leaned forward. "Still, the board is nervous. One member already called me, asking about that post. We can't afford a scandal right now, especially not with the press covering our new Lincoln exhibit. I need you to find a way to shut this down." I left the meeting with a heavy heart. I was angry not just at Rachel, but at how fragile everything was. One unhinged rant, and suddenly my credibility was up for debate. I called Rachel. She didn't answer. I called again. Then I messaged her, "Take down the post. You've crossed a line." She responded instantly, or what? I didn't reply. Instead, I called a lawyer. I wasn't trying to sue her. I just wanted to know my options. The lawyer was calm and clear. "It's defamation. If it hurts your career, we can act. Keep records. Don't respond emotionally." I followed his advice. I screenshotted everything. I kept quiet. I let her keep digging her hole. Then, a week later, my parents called. My dad spoke first. "We're having a family dinner Sunday. Come." I didn't want to go. Every instinct said no. But a small part of me wanted to look them in the eye. So I went. When I walked into their house, Rachel was already there. She was sitting in the living room like she owned the place, smiling like nothing had happened. My mom acted like she didn't remember screaming at me during the ceremony. My dad tried to act neutral, like he was a referee at a boxing match. Rachel started in immediately. "I think we all said things we didn't mean." I laughed. "You accused me of sleeping with a board member on Facebook." She shrugged. "It's just how I felt at the time." I looked at my parents. "And you're okay with that?" My mom spoke. "You've always been more driven. We thought maybe you could take a step back and give your sister a chance." "She's struggling." I stared at them. Take a step back? From my career? From the job I earned? Rachel leaned forward. "You're not the only one who matters." I stood up. "You're right. But I'm the only one who put in the work. You don't get to torch my reputation and then act like we're equals." I left before dessert. The next day, things got worse. An anonymous tip was sent to the museum's ethics committee. It claimed I falsified parts of my resume. It said I lied about a publication. I knew it was Rachel. She'd seen my resume 100 times, once when I asked for her help with formatting. I remembered her saying, "Wow, you really did all this?" The committee launched a routine review. Mark told me not to worry, but I could tell even he was rattled. They paused my public appearances. They pulled me off the Lincoln media tour. I didn't go home. I stayed in a hotel. I couldn't face my apartment, not with the silence ringing so loud. Then one night, after way too many hours staring at the ceiling, I remembered something. A recorded Zoom call from my final interview with the board. I dug through my laptop, found the file, and watched the whole thing again. There it was, clear mention of my qualifications, verified by 3 members. Even better? A board member asking me, "Has anyone else expressed interest in this position from your family?" I asked because your sister called last month. I'd forgotten about that. Apparently, Rachel had tried to insert herself in the process. She was rejected immediately, no degree in history, no background, not even a relevant job. But she tried. And that rejection? It was in the minutes. A public record. The next day, I made copies, sent them to HR, to the ethics committee, and to Mark. Then I sent a polite but sharp letter to Rachel. "You're no longer allowed to mention me publicly. Stop interfering. I've gathered enough evidence to pursue legal action if you don't. I will not let you burn down what I've built." I didn't hear from her after that for a while. But silence doesn't always mean peace. More happened after that. And not all of it was behind a screen. 3 weeks after I sent that letter, things were finally settling down. The ethics committee cleared me. The board issued a quiet statement reaffirming my position. Rachel's post had been taken down, either by her or flagged enough to get removed. I started sleeping again. I felt like I could breathe. Then I got the email. It came from a random Gmail account. No name, no subject line, just a scanned attachment. I opened it and my stomach dropped. It was a copy of a resignation letter. with my name typed at the bottom. It said I was stepping down due to family obligations and personal misrepresentation. It was dated that very day. I called Mark immediately. He was confused. "We didn't receive anything like that," he said. "Someone's trying to impersonate me," I told him. He agreed to flag it and alert IT. The sender had faked my signature pretty well. But the tone was wrong. The wording didn't sound like me. Whoever did it had clearly never seen the kind of language I actually use in professional settings. Still, someone had tried to sabotage me. Again. 2 days later, a reporter called. He said he was working on a piece for a local news site about workplace misconduct and the misuse of influence in hiring. I asked where he got my name. He said, "A tip from someone close to your family. They said you manipulated your way into your job and pushed out a more qualified candidate, your sister." This time, I didn't just sit back. I told him everything. I handed over documents, timelines, the interview recording. I explained the history, the awards ceremony, the social media posts, even the forged resignation letter. The reporter paused for a long time, then said, "Wow, this is a lot deeper than I thought." He promised to be fair. I wasn't sure I believed him. But when the article came out a week later, the truth was laid bare. He didn't go easy on anyone. The piece was titled, "When Favoritism Turns into Sabotage, A Family Divided by Success." He didn't use Rachel's name, but the details were clear enough. The article painted a brutal but honest picture of what I'd gone through. That's when things turned ugly again, but not in the way I expected. My parents showed up at my apartment. I didn't let them in. They stood in the hallway while my mom cried and my dad looked like he wanted to be anywhere else. "You humiliated us," my mom said through the door. "You didn't have to go to the press." I laughed bitterly. "You're worried about humiliation? After everything Rachel did? After you both stood there and watched her try to destroy me? You could have handled this quietly," my dad said. "Yeah," I replied. "Like you always taught me to keep my head down while Rachel walks all over me." My mom whispered something I couldn't hear, then they left. I didn't feel relief. I felt tired. Tired of carrying their expectations. Tired of being the one who had to make peace, keep things together, play the reasonable one. That night, I got another message. This time from a woman named Carla. She said she worked with Rachel at an event planning company in Milwaukee. She told me Rachel had been fired. Apparently, Rachel had tried to run a wedding without booking the venue properly. Lied to the couple, forged emails, the whole 9 yards. Carla said she blamed it on you. Said you distracted her. That everything wrong in her life started with you stealing her job. That was when it finally clicked. Rachel didn't just hate that I got the job, she believed, deep down, that I took something from her. She'd been waiting for life to hand her something. And when it didn't, she found a way to blame me. A week later, I got a call from a blocked number. I let it go to voicemail. It was Rachel. Her voice was low, calmer than I'd heard in months. "You win," she said. "You always win. But you don't know what it feels like to lose everything. I lost my job. My friends don't call me back. Mom and Dad are mad at me. You turned everyone against me." She paused. But I'm not done. I saved the voicemail. Because I knew she meant it. And I also knew she wasn't going to disappear quietly. There was more coming. I could feel it. And this time, I'd be ready. Rachel went quiet for a while after that voicemail. Weeks passed. I started thinking maybe she was actually done. Maybe the humiliation finally broke her. Maybe she'd move on and try to fix her life. Maybe she'd find some peace. Then I got a call from HR. "Hey," my HR manager said, "just wanted to ask, are you speaking at the Springfield Symposium next month?" I nodded, confused. "Yeah, I'm the keynote." She cleared her throat. "Well, someone submitted a cancellation form. Said you were withdrawing because of a mental health crisis and inability to handle public pressure. They signed it with your name. That was it. This wasn't just sibling rivalry. This was targeted. Dangerous. I called my lawyer. We filed for a restraining order. We sent cease and desist letters to Rachel and, just to be safe, to both of my parents. I didn't trust any of them anymore. The legal process was slow, but the message was loud. And then, a few nights later, I got the final twist. It was almost midnight when I got a DM on Instagram from someone I didn't recognize. It just said, "You should see this." Attached was a screenshot of a private group chat. Apparently, Rachel had made a whole group with a bunch of people. Friends from high school, college acquaintances, even some extended family. She called it The Truth About My Sister. In it, she shared photos of me, twisted stories from our childhood, exaggerated moments of my adult life, even pictures of old boyfriends. She made it sound like I was this evil, controlling woman who used lies to get everything I wanted. The others chimed in, some mocking, some trying to hype her up. It was disgusting. The person who messaged me? Her old coworker, Carla. She wrote, "She added me thinking I'd join in. I left. But you should have this. I'm sorry." That's when something in me snapped. Not just the tired kind of anger, not even hurt. This was a cold, clear fire. I printed out every screenshot, every forged form, every social media attack, every message and email Rachel had sent pretending to be me. And I mailed it. Not to the cops. Not to the press. Not to my boss. I mailed it to every single board member at the museum. With a letter. In it, I didn't beg or cry. I told the truth. I explained what had been happening for over a year. I explained how I kept quiet to protect the image of the institution. But now I wasn't going to hide. I ended it with, "This is not just about me. This is about protecting the integrity of everything we stand for. If this can happen to me, it can happen to anyone." Within 48 hours, I got responses. The board called an emergency session. Rachel was formally banned from museum premises. A legal investigation was opened. The museum's legal team even offered to support my case if I wanted to press criminal charges for identity fraud and defamation. I said yes. It didn't stop there. The museum released a quiet press statement reaffirming my position and stating they were taking a stand against harassment. It didn't name Rachel, but everyone close enough knew who they meant. A month later, Rachel was served. When she showed up in court, she looked like a stranger. Not the golden child, not the sister who used to braid my hair when we were kids. Just a woman unraveling. She represented herself. She argued that I'd stolen her life. The judge listened. Then he looked at the stack of evidence I'd brought in. He issued a permanent restraining order. Fined her. Ordered her to take a psychiatric evaluation. Told her any future contact would result in jail time. She cried. For once, I didn't feel guilty. I didn't feel like I was the mean one or the favorite or the lucky one. I felt justified. My parents didn't speak to me for 6 months after that. When they finally reached out, it was short. "We didn't know it had gone this far," my mom said. "We thought you were just being dramatic." I responded with, "That's always been your problem. You never saw me unless I was falling apart." I hung up. Rachel moved out of state. I heard through a cousin she's working a retail job now, still blaming everyone else for her downfall. Still telling stories. Still bitter. As for me, I still have my job. I still curate exhibitions that bring in visitors from all over the world. My team trusts me. The board respects me. But more importantly, I sleep without waiting for the next shoe to drop. Sometimes vengeance doesn't look like shouting or screaming or throwing punches. Sometimes it looks like holding the receipts, waiting patiently and letting the truth do all the burning for you.